What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us. This is all things NBA from A to Z, brought to you by our friends at Ball is Life and Beat the Book for this live iteration. As you can see here on the screen, we have some awesome surprises for you tonight. We're super excited. I guess one caveat is Chris Persianen, who covers the Knicks full time. He cannot make it tonight. He is actually in the Philly building covering that game right now. It's a 9-point game with 30 seconds left. So hopefully Chris has a good game there. But Zach, thank you for jumping on. Albert Wynn, you guys know me, but the one and only one of my best friends within this space. We kind of came up together 5-6 years ago. We've been catching up now for the last half hour, but Matt, aka Dead Press Picks, how are you?
What's up, fellas? Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah, it's been too long. I say to your point, we were saying how crazy it's been now 6 years, I guess, that we've connected. It's been a while. My first face reveal also, AC, if you remember, was on the old Insta Live back in the day with your old Instagram. So yeah, missed being on the camera with you. But yeah, great to hop on with you guys, and a lot to get into between the NBA games, the draft. So it's a good night to get after it.
Yeah, let's just start right there with the draft. Like, what was the biggest surprise? Really quick. I know this is an NBA show; it's an NBA playoff show. But with the draft, there, I'll start with Matt. What was the biggest surprise so far in the first round?
It's got to be the Falcons, right? Going with Penix there. That was probably the most surprised I've been by a pick. I don't know if I'm going to say ever, but it's been a long time. Maybe since the Eagles when they drafted Jalen Hurts at the time when we still had Wentz. And things were still looking okay with Carson Wentz. But, yeah, I felt like it was a reach. Obviously, they just went out, got Cousins. So I don't know the exact plan. It seemed like they were more in, like, win-now mode with Cousins. And they have a lot of other areas that need to improve. I thought they were going to go defense for sure. But, yeah, the draft surprises. Bo Nix, obviously, too, going as high as he did. I don't think a lot of people saw that. So a quick quarterback run for sure has definitely been the headline of the draft.
Awesome. And Zach, I know you were kind of busy the last hour or two, but have you been following the draft at all?
I have, yeah, man. I'm not too happy about my Vikes, but I'll take it. We got a QB. I got to stand behind it. I think we got the guy they've wanted the whole time. We didn't need to trade up one spot. I think the Broncos were jockeying and scared Kwesi a little bit, so that's why he jumped the gun on it. But they're late, top 157 or something he gave up, so shouldn't matter anyways if JJ is the real deal. But interesting that the Raiders took Brock Bowers, so tight ends back-to-back years. And Falcons, man, they got two quarterbacks I wish we had. Two quarterbacks better than the Vikings.
Sorry, man. Yeah, okay, so that's enough NFL. Let's get into the NBA. I wish Chris was here because he is a huge New York Knicks fan. We all know Matt is from Philadelphia. So I guess, Matt, I'm going to give you a couple minutes here, the next couple minutes, just to talk about your Sixers. It looks like they're about to, get the series 2-1, make it a lot more competitive. What are your thoughts on that moving forward?
You called me on a good night, because if you had me on a couple nights ago, it might have just, that would have been rough. But, yeah, fortunately, it looks like they are going to get back on track tonight and hopefully cover this game and win it. But we were talking about this, AC, before I hopped on. Still a lot of confidence coming back home that they could win this series. I think we all know what happened in game 2, so we don't have to go back over that. But probably should have won game 2. Some of it was self-inflicted at the end. Maybe a couple of whistles could have went their way, and a timeout could have went their way. But yeah, I still think they're in a good position. Obviously, have to win game 4. Again, it's at home. You got to defend your home court. But I do still think it'll go back to New York 2-2. And then at that point, again, it's a 3-game series. I think Philly's the better team, but at the end of the day, the Knicks are feisty. I wanted the Bucks, to be honest, as a Sixers fan in round 1. Obviously, Giannis has a lot to do with that, not knowing his status of if he's going to be back or not. But something about the Knicks, they're just scrappy. It's that Nova DNA in them. They play tough. They make things tough on you. And, yeah, they've been difficult for the Sixers, but a nice bounce-back win tonight for sure. Much needed game. Embiid steps up. Maxey steps up. Big-time win tonight. I still do think, though, they win this series. I think it goes 7, but I think they get it done.
Man,
hey, just like you guys thought you got screwed out of game 2, now the Knicks fans thought they got screwed out of this one with Embiid should have been ejected. Everybody's going nuts.
I'm as big of an Embiid fan as you'll find, but yeah, that play was dirty. So I think they probably had a case there. Problem is, you guys know, if the NBA throws Embiid out there, that's a whole new thing, right? Sixers got screwed out game 2, and you're throwing the best player in the game out. So yeah, tough spot, but that easily he definitely could have been thrown out. I honestly do see the case that Knicks fans make for that one.
Here, I just always laugh at people because this is the thing. If you've been following the NBA playoffs the last few years, I'm so strong about this. It's the home team gets the favorable calls, and it's not even close. There hasn't been an instance where I don't think the home team has been heavily favored, just getting the swing calls, the important plays. Like, that was the swing call of the game. That was the most important call, and they let them play it out. Like, it all comes back around, so it evens out. Like, no matter how shitty they are one way, they're going to be very shitty the other way. Yeah. So that's why I hate when people blame the refs, because you just got to take advantage of when you do get those breaks, because they're coming.
Yeah, I think one thing that Sam Cassell said like 20 years ago, Zach, that resonated with me. He was interviewed post game, and the Clippers had barely won on like a really bad call, and he basically said, "We don't expect the refs to be perfect. We want the refs to be fair." And the fact that, Zach, you mentioned things are going to even out in the long term, I think that's a really important important point to make. So Zach, before you jumped on, me and Matt were just having a sidebar about the Sixers series, Sixers Knicks. We both believe that if it gets 2-2, and I think it is a big if, right? We're not going to guarantee that Philly's going to win game 4. But if they do win game 4 and they go back to New York 2-2, we think Philly is going to take the series. Zach, how do you feel about that?
I've had Philly since the beginning in 7. I thought Embiid was healthy enough, and he proved that tonight yet. But I mean, here's the thing. We haven't seen Embiid make it through like this healthy through an entire series, let alone playoffs. So, I mean, it's still 50-50. I'm going to hold my breath till it happens. But, I mean, this was his greatest playoff game ever tonight. I mean, I don't think it's even a debate. I mean, he just did it all, and he made it.
What were his final numbers?
He ended with 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, wow. 50 and 8, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that's by far
21 free throws, only 19 field goal attempts is the insane part.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
So I know we're throwing a lot of love on Philly and Embiid and things like that. I think all three of us are kind of in agreement that if it goes 7, Philly might steal it. But Matt, let's talk about the opposite end of the spectrum. You're Mr. Philly up there. You're pretty, you have your ears to the ground. Let's say they get ousted in the first round. Like, what do you think this franchise has to do? Are they going to move Embiid? Are they going to continue to build around Embiid? What do you prefer?
Come on, he just had his best playoff game ever. We can't be talking about moving the guy.
Never know.
Yeah, you gotta
I love it though. I cannot.
But no, I mean, it's a fair point. Trust me. Listen, in Philly, that has been debated the last couple of years, right? I think all solutions get thrown out when you continue to lose playoff series. I think they would probably have to go out. And Paul George's name has kind of swirled around the last couple of years as a guy now in the free agency, trying to land another big-time player. Obviously, with Maxey and kind of the contract that he's currently on, he's going to get paid eventually, but I think they can pull in another. I don't think they're winning the finals this year, right? I think if anything, they win this series. I think they could win another series. At the end of the day, I still don't think they're good enough to get past a Boston or one of those teams at the top. But I do think outside of Boston, they could play with anyone in the East. Now, some of that has to do with the East also not being that strong, more so than Philly being that good. But yeah, it is interesting because trust me, that you will get a lot of tweets and rumors about a lot of tweets and rumors about Joel Embiid, trade him and this and that. But no, I still think he's a top 5 player in the NBA. You got to just ride him as long as you can.
I mean, when healthy, he's not a top 5 player, Matt. He's the top player, in my opinion. Yeah. And I'm a big Nikola Jokic fan as well. But there's no one that dominates a game offensively like Joel Embiid. Zach, you had something to say?
Yeah, real quick. I mean, we got to give a shout out to Brunson. I mean, he's been struggling all series. That's why it's amazing that the Knicks were up 2-0, came out with a banger. He did his part. I mean, he just didn't get enough from everybody else. But I mean, when it comes down to it, this is the levels to it. You go as far as your best player takes you at times if the role players aren't popping off like Josh Hart has, even though he played decent from the box score. But I mean, Brunson, finally showed up. And it wasn't enough because and went against Embiid's peak tonight as well. So it's going to be interesting going forward how this plays out. But I mean, both these teams just played really solid games, and this is how I saw it going. That's why I gave the edge to Philly, because at their peak, they're definitely the better team. It's just, can they peak enough and often enough?
Quick question to you guys. Game 5. What do you guys think? The line is 5.5. So in
Game
Philly's
4. Game 4.
Sorry, yeah, game 4. I'm jumping the gun there, I see. But yeah, game 4. 5.5. I mean, pretty much what we're at, right, for today.
Yeah, that's a really good segue. So first of all, I want to reset really quick. Thank you to our friends and our colleagues from Beat the Book. They are the ones that have made this possible. But basically, if you have not downloaded Beat the Book, the app, it's free. It helps track all your bets. It's also a social platform that you can talk to other people. So it's really cool. Like, you can find me, Zach, and Chris's bets in there under All Things NBA. We were on the Sixers full game, so that cash, but we were also on the Cavs full game. So we went 1-on-1 tonight. We'll probably put some more bets in later tonight, so definitely check us out on that. And maybe I'll talk to Matt after the show, and he can download the app for you guys as well. But to answer your question, Sixers minus 5.5. I would probably like the Sixers first half the most as the look there. They did lose the first half tonight and had an amazing third quarter to come back. So you know me, I think, Matt, you and I used to do this all the time, but I'm more of like a contrarian, buck the trend kind of guy. Yep. So I like first half more than anything. What about you?
Yeah, I think I don't love the number still, 5.5. I caught the number early in this game at 4. So I felt a little more confident with it. I think I don't know. I might honestly lay off the spread in that one. Maybe I will ride that first half bet with UAC. I like that angle, especially because they lost the first half tonight. But 5.5, I mean, Knicks are just so scrappy, man. I could see it again being a little bit of a tighter game that comes down to a possession or two at the end. So I honestly do like that first half angle, but might be more of a player prop game for me on Sunday.
How did Zach? How did Maxey do with Embiid dropping 50?
I mean, he was all right. He fit in okay, but I mean, he did enough. I'm not gonna say he was excellent or anything, but I mean, his shots were critical. I think it was a smooth 50. It wasn't like a forced 50. I thought it was a great game overall. Yeah, some of Embiid's games are just like, they're not that impressive of 50-point games, to be honest. But like this one was.
Yeah, I mean, just for our viewers, the final line was 50 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. That includes 13 of 19 from the free field goal. But more impressively, he was 5 from 7 from deep. That's really good. Yep. Maxey actually had a pretty good game, being the second fiddle, 25 points, the most improved player. Zach, what did you think of the early game with Orlando coming out and just dominating the Cavs?
Yeah, and I want to give Albert a shout out. What people don't realize is he had the magic first half Cavs game, even though, I mean, it evens out. But I mean, that was still got 1-on-1 out of the deal. He's been crushing the first halves. I'll give him that. Honestly, game was really weird. It's just kind of like the stereotypical make or miss NBA game. The Magic have been shooting 27%, 34 from the field the first 2 games, and they were due. I mean, no team in the playoffs is that bad. So it's kind of just numbers coming back to the average. But I mean, it's hard to say what else went right. I mean, Cavs turned it over a few more times. It was rebounding and second chance early on. I mean, they dominated the boards, 51-32.
Yeah, 51-32, the rebounding advantage.
And I was on a show beforehand. One guy thought the Wendell Carter Jr. adjustment was going to be a big deal. I did not, because I thought the Isaac minutes when he came in was really impressive. But I don't know. You could try to make that argument, being that's how they started. But Darius Garland, man. I liked his over 50.5 for the game. He was ass. That guy is done. They got to get rid of him. I've always said that Garland.
Get rid of him.
Oh yeah. If Mitchell's willing to stick around, that is. Which that's the tricky part. I mean, if Mitchell's
Garland might be a nice Garland might be a nice number 3 with Tyrese and
I
Henry.
take him, but yeah, he's
Oh,
scared.
Philly fans, I think most would want him. I mean, I think that'd be unreal. Those guys, play style wise, I mean, they'll be throwing oops to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Matt, what are your thoughts on the Cavs Magic series? Is this gentleman's sweep?
No, I think it's interesting, guys, because this was a series, like, I feel like I kind of did this too, like, kind of quickly just gave it to the Cavs, right? Like, hey, because those first 2 games, the Magic were horrific. Like, they just flat out couldn't shoot. They didn't defend, but like everything just looked horrible for them. But now all of a sudden you look up and yeah, it's 2-1. They're favored again, guys. They're -2 in the next game, 2.5 some places now. I think it did jump up to. They play Saturday though, right? I think they're a Saturday game. But yeah, I think the Magic are alive in the series. Coming into the series, this was definitely the worst series in the NBA first round. It's just 2 teams that I don't think are very good. Like whoever wins the series isn't going anywhere. But I think the Magic win the game 4 again. I think they extend the series. Ultimately, I do think the Cavs win it. But no, I won't be shocked, guys, if it ends up going 7 games. Honestly,
Wow.
Just kind of these teams hold serve on home court. But yeah, Garland, I mean, it's a good point. If he's off, I don't know if they have another guy really outside of Mitchell. Like they're kind of screwed if he's off and they're scoring. Max Strus has struggled the first couple games of this series. He's a guy I think they counted on to score a lot of points. So I don't know if they have enough margin for error. If Mitchell is off, and tonight he was off, right? He only scored 13 points, and they end up losing the game by 30 points. I don't know the exact final, but it was ugly.
They tried going through Karis LeVert way too often and way too early, and it just threw off both Garland and Mitchell. It was pretty obvious. He missed. I mean, he made like his first 2 shots, and then he missed like 5, and then he made it. It's just he's a ball stopper. The guy, I mean, he's a heat check guy, and I think he's got to be more of just a straight second unit guy versus they were playing him too much with Mitchell, and it just mucked up things for everybody else. So I think they got to go away from him. That would be my adjustment. Game 4, Darius Garland's got to work to fit in because the team goes as Mitchell goes. I mean, Mitchell and Garland have never been a cohesive unit. The Magic's defense turned into great offense, and they relied on their defense, and that's what happened. I mean, they got great looks, second chances, 14-5 on the offensive rebounds. That's as good of a Magic game as you're going to see. Is it duplicatable? I don't know.
Yeah, if the Magic, with their awesome defense, especially in the half court, if they're hitting threes, they're a very, very tough team to beat. Yeah. Zach, we'll probably talk about this on a later podcast, but I think we need to do a deep dive on Evan Mobley because I am starting to not believe. Yeah, I am starting to not believe. He's a nice player, but the anointing of him to be a superstar, a future superstar, maybe it's not there.
I've always said, just real quick, it's something that he's got to be given the keys to. He's not the guy to go take it. And it's kind of like Jabari Smith and Houston, a little bit of comp there. Like I think they both have a lot more upside. If you take away like a Garland or Mitchell, one of them will step up, like Jaden McDaniels in Minnesota, for instance. Like Minnesota, like he got rolling. They just kept feeding him. And like Mobley has only had those opportunities when Mitchell or Garland is hurt, and he's had a couple 30-point games. It's just something he needs to go at for 10, 20 games to see if he can do it consistently. I mean, he's never really had that long of a stretch.
All right. So Zach and Matt, we have 3 games tomorrow, right? We have Bucks, Pacers, Clippers, Mavericks. I'll be there. And Timberwolves, Suns. This could be the end of the Kevin Durant era, Phoenix Suns. But Matt, what game do you want to talk about first? What's your favorite bet out of those?
My favorite bet, honest, is the Suns there, boys. I like them to bounce back. And it's scary because I bet on them. I bet the playoffs, but that's the team I can't figure out. I bet on the first couple of games. You a Wolves guy, Zach? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, diehard, man.
It's probably the guy I do my podcast with is a diehard Minnesota fan too. And listen, coming into the series, honestly, I don't think they're going to win the series. I do think, though, they get this game. To your point, AC, I mean, yeah, they lose this one. What's their next step? Talk about teams, where do they go? I mean, Kevin Durant without Steph in the playoffs is no better than Carmelo Anthony? Yeah, Carmelo Anthony kind of guy. So It's a big game for him, for the Suns. Obviously, getting back in the Valley, though, I do think that they grabbed this one at -4. All good games, though. To your point, Mavs Clippers is going to be great, and Bucks Pacers should be a good one too.
It's a similar spot to what Orlando saw tonight, right? They got blown out in the first two games. They come back home and they dominated early and often against the Cavs. And yeah, I could see that with Phoenix. It's just with them, they rely so much on their offense. So like, if they're not shooting well, they can't blow anybody out because they just can't stop anybody. Zach, out of the other two games, Bucks, Pacers, Clippers, Mavericks, what's your look and what's your favorite look there?
Man, I like the Clippers to come out and get it done. I think they just needed a warm up with Kawhi. I think they know what the formula is, but I mean, Luka's found his groove. I mean, he's still got more upside to shoot higher percentages, so that's the scary part for Clippers backers. But I just think you look at game one. Yes, the Mavs couldn't shoot any worse than that game one, but there's the formula. Like, Clippers played perfect. I mean, if you play that way, it's just integrating Kawhi's ball stopping back into it. Ty Lue has got to rely on Norm Powell and Zubac more. Like, they went away from both of them way too often in that last game. Like, he coached a flawless game one. Game two, he's got to get it back. Like, you can't worry about like working Kawhi in too much. Kawhi's got to either get in or put him on the second unit and let him do his thing, because that team looked night and day different. And we knew it would be like that when Kawhi first came back. That's why it's probably good when they were up 1-0 versus like 1-1 or 1-2. It might be another game if they're going to go with that same game plan. Like, Clippers still had a great chance late in that fourth. They just started going slow, and I didn't like going away from Norman Powell in the fourth, man. The guy was hitting some big shots, and he can push the tempo, and he's not afraid to hit a big one. Got to get to the free throw line more too. They went away from that, attacking the rim. It's a pretty straight formula for the Clippers. The Mavs, on the other hand, you know what Luka's bringing. It's what else are you going to get from everybody else? And can they slow down Zubac if they keep going back to him?
Yeah, I mean, my better betting brain is working. I mean, if Zach is right, if the Clippers are gonna steal Game 3 on the road against the Mavericks, Game 4 Mavericks could be my favorite play of the postseason, because I don't think they're going back. Yeah, they're not gonna go back to LA 1-3, so they would probably tie that up if they lose Game 3. Matt, what are your thoughts on that? I guess my thing is, a healthy Kawhi, is that a huge difference maker for the Clippers against Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, make good points too, Zach, with kind of like Kawhi also coming back in the lineup. So I think sometimes that can kind of screw up a little bit of the flow. Like, sometimes when the star comes back, it's like you over-insert them a little bit back into the game. I do like the Clippers smarter there from a spread standpoint. I think the line is a little over-adjusted. Like, I thought it was going to be more of like a 2-point line, maybe 2.5. So 4.5 in this game. I mean, I think there's a path where the Mavs do win the game, but the Clippers kind of hang around and end up covering. Los Angeles was really good on the road this year. They won 26 games on the road. That was the second most in the West. So this is a team who played pretty well away from home all season. Coming off of that loss, I mean, that game, game 2, I was on the Mavs, but Clippers stormed back in that game. They held like a 5-point lead in the fourth, or like they kind of looked like, hey, look, it looks like they're going to get over this one and win the game. But yeah, I mean, with Kawhi in the lineup, they're 100% better. This is one of the best teams in the NBA from a talent standpoint when fully healthy. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game that ultimately I think the Clippers cover. If they win, though, AC, I am with you. I think the Mavs in Game 4 would be a hammer of a spot because they're not losing 2 in Dallas.
Yeah. I guess one final thing before we close the show. So we have another guest coming on next week. It's one of our old friends, me and Matt's old friends, Alpha Dog Bets. It would have been cool to have both of you guys on because the Philly connection and then the New York connection. Yeah. The next Thursday would potentially be right after Game 6. So we might either see the end of the series or maybe a potential Game 7. That's going to be super fun. So, guys, thank you so much for jumping on. And hopefully you guys catch us out next week as well. Zach, I know you wanted to talk about maybe potential, power ratings or favorite underdogs. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I just think so far in the playoffs, the one team that's dropped a little bit, Celtics, man, that was a bad last game. Like I had them the number one team coming in. That brings them down quite a bit. I mean, if Jimmy Butler can get back later in this series and the Heat bring this 2-2 back in Boston, things could get a little scary. I mean, it could be a kryptonite thing. I don't know. I mean, Minnesota's looking tremendous. Phoenix is looking terrible. They've dropped, but if the Lakers steal one tonight, I mean, I think they could pull off another one and go 2-2 back. I think it's opening up if the Lakers get one, like the West in general. But the Denver's looked like the best team. It's hard. Can you guys think of anybody that's came close to Denver right now, the way they're looking overall through two
Not
games?
really. As a fan of basketball, I just wish that the Lakers had taken game 2 because I want to see Denver be pushed.
Yeah.
I feel like they're such a great team, but they're like just dominating everybody, right? I want them to be down 1-3, or I want fourth down a game. Like I just want to see adversity because I mean I respect that team a lot, but I just want to see more. Matt, did you have something?
I mean, to your question, anyone who can compete, honestly, after obviously a small sample size in the playoffs, but maybe Minnesota's the only other team who's looked kind of on. I actually don't think Denver's looked that great, if we're being honest. Game 1 they did, but like game 2, to your point, I say they should have lost that game. So, I mean, they ultimately came back. They did their job and win the game. But tonight, very early in the game, they are down by 6. Lakers controlled that first quarter. I am hoping the Lakers can extend the series. More basketball is better, and yeah, we'll see how they go with their backs against the wall.
All right, so Matt, thank you so much for jumping on. I know we're at 30 minutes already. Guys, check this out. If you didn't watch it live, definitely watch it, play it back. And then next week, like I said, we're going to have the full gang together as well as Alpha Dog Bets. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Matt. Anything you want to plug before we end?
No, I appreciate you guys for having me on. Just follow on socials at DeadPressPicks. If you guys are looking on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere. But yeah, really appreciate you guys having me on. I had a great time.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.